What would you do if the girl you trusted to care for your child was not truly human? What would you do if something cold and heavy slept between you and your husband every night? You were aware of its presence, yet no one else could see it. What would you do if your home, once filled with laughter, slowly turned into a place of fear? These are not easy questions. They are questions people avoid. They are questions people pray they'll never have to answer. But in a quiet part of Ikoyi, Lagos, a young family was forced to face them. The elders often say, when danger knocks softly, it is already inside. This story did not begin with screams. It did not begin with blood. It began with kindness. David and Janet were good people. They believed in helping others. They believed love was stronger than evil. They did not know that evil sometimes hides behind soft eyes and gentle words. And so, this is the story of a beautiful house. This is the story of a happy family. This is the story of a child who suffered in silence. And this is the story of a girl named Sarah, the house help who came with a smile, but carried darkness to a peaceful home. Ikoyi was one of the calmest places in Lagos. The roads were wide and clean. Tall trees stood on both sides, their leaves dancing gently in the wind. Big houses sat quietly behind strong gates. Security guards greeted passers-by with respect. People believed that Ikoyi was a place of peace. David and Janet's house stood near the end of a quiet street. It was a large white building with a red roof. Flowers bloomed in the front yard. The smell of fresh flowers often filled the air. Every morning, birds sat on the fence and sang sweet songs. Inside the house, everything was neat and warm. David believed in order. Janet believed in beauty. Together, they built a home full of peace. David was a hardworking man. He went to the office early every day. People respected him because he was honest and calm. Janet took care of the home. She cooked with love. She cleaned with joy. She prayed every morning before the sun fully rose. Neighbors admired them. That home has peace, they said. The elders say, a home built with love attracts blessings. But the elders also say, even the cleanest house must guard its door. David and Janet did not know that their guard was about to fail. Agnes was the light of the house. She was just 2 years old, but she filled the home with laughter. She liked to clap her hands. She liked to run from room to room. She liked to hide behind the sofa and laugh when her parents found her. When Agnes laughed, Janet's heart melted. My little angel, Janet always said. David lifted her high in the air and laughed loudly. My small queen, he called her. Every evening, the family sat together. Janet fed Agnes patiently. David told stories. Agnes listened with wide eyes. Before sleeping, they prayed. God, thank you for our family, David said. God, protect our child, Janet added. Agnes clapped her hands and said, Amen. No one knew that danger was already walking toward their door. The elders say, evil watches happiness closely. Janet carried a secret in her heart. She was pregnant again. 3 months pregnant. She had not told many people. She wanted to be sure, she wanted to protect the joy. At night, she touched her stomach gently. My baby, she whispered. She imagined Agnes holding a small brother or sister. She She imagined laughter filling the house even more. David noticed her smile. "You are glowing," he said. Janet laughed softly. The house was full of hope. The elders say, when joy grows, envy listens. And somewhere, unseen, something listened very closely. One hot afternoon, when the sun stood high in the sky, a woman walked into David and Janet's compound. She was a distant relative Janet had not seen for many years. She smiled widely and greeted everyone with long greetings. "Oh, Janet. Long time," she said. Janet smiled back. "You are welcome." They sat in the living room. The woman drank water and looked around the house with curious eyes. She nodded slowly, as if counting things in her head. "This house is beautiful," she said. Janet thanked her politely. After some time, the woman cleared her throat. "My sister," she began, "I know a small girl who needs help. Her parents are poor. She is hardworking. She can help you in this big house." Janet listened quietly. "You are pregnant," the woman continued. "Soon you will need help." Janet touched her stomach and nodded. David joined them and listened. "How old is the girl?" David asked. 14, the woman replied quickly. "She is very quiet. Very obedient." Janet felt pity. Her heart was soft. "A child like that should not suffer," she said. The elders say, a kind heart must still ask questions. But no questions were asked. Later that evening, the woman returned with the girl. She stood quietly by the door. Her name was Sarah. Sarah was small for her age. Her clothes were old. Her hair was neatly packed. She did not look around. She did not smile. She kept her head down. "Good afternoon, sir," she said softly. "Good afternoon, Ma." Her voice was low and flat. Janet felt something touch her heart. She looks tired, Janet thought. She needs care. David nodded. "You will stay here," Janet told Sarah. "You are safe." Sarah nodded slowly. That first day, Sarah worked quietly. She cleaned. She washed plates. She swept the floor. She never complained. But something strange happened. When Sarah carried Agnes, Agnes screamed. Not a normal cry. A sharp cry. Janet rushed in. "What happened?" she asked. Sarah shook her head. "I did nothing, Ma. I just wanted to carry her." Janet took Agnes from her. Agnes stopped crying immediately. Janet frowned, but said nothing. That night, Janet could not sleep well. She kept thinking. But she told herself, she is just a child. The elders say, the first warning is often ignored. When David and Janet returned to work, Sarah stayed alone with Agnes. During the day, neighbors heard Agnes cry. She cried loudly. She cried for long. "She cries like someone is hurting her," one neighbor said. Another replied, "But when her mother returns, she looks fine." Indeed, when Janet returned home, Agnes looked normal. No wounds. No marks. No bruises. Only fear in her eyes. At night, Agnes clung to Janet tightly. She cried whenever Sarah came near. Janet tried to comfort her. "Don't worry, my angel," she said. But her heart was not calm. David noticed changes too. "I feel tired every day," he said. "I sleep, but I wake up weak." Janet felt scared. The elders say, when a child fears without reason, listen. At night, Sarah locked her door. When the house fell silent, when David snored softly, when Janet drifted into sleep, Sarah changed. Her bones cracked. Her body stretched. Her legs joined together. Her skin turned black and cold. She became a huge snake. Her eyes glowed red. She slid out of her room silently, straight to Agnes' room. She hissed softly. "Little one," she whispered, "you must not grow." She wrapped herself around the baby's bed. Agnes screamed. But the wall swallowed the sound. After tormenting the child, the snake crawled back. Before morning, she became Sarah again. The elders say, evil works hardest when people sleep. The day Janet lost her baby started like every other day. The sun came up gently. Birds sang on the fence. Janet woke up early and prayed. She felt a small pain in her stomach. "It is nothing," she told herself. She cooked breakfast. She fed Agnes. She smiled at David as he left for work. But as the morning went on, the pain grew stronger. Janet sat down. She held her stomach. Sweat covered her face. Sarah watched from the corner of the room. Her face was calm. Too calm. Soon, blood followed. Janet screamed. Neighbors rushed in. David was called. They rushed Janet to the hospital. Doctors tried. Nurses moved quickly. After a long time, a doctor came out and shook his head. "I am sorry," he said softly. "The baby is gone." Janet cried. She cried until her body shook. David held her tightly. "It will be well," he said, but his voice was weak. When they returned home, the house felt empty. Agnes cried at night. Sarah watched quietly. The elders say, an enemy may cry with you, but their heart dances. Time passed. Janet healed slowly. She prayed more, she fasted. She trusted God again. Soon, she became pregnant again. Hope returned. But fear followed it. Janet tried to be careful. She rested often. She avoided stress. Still, one night, pain returned. Again, blood followed. And again, the baby was gone. This happened again and again and again. Each time, Sarah was in the house. Each time, Agnes fell sick. Fever. Weakness. Crying at night. Doctors could not explain it. "We cannot find anything wrong," they said. Janet became thin. Her smile faded. David grew quiet. They prayed harder. But the pain stayed. The elders say, when trouble repeats itself, something unseen is behind it. One night, Janet woke suddenly. The room was cold. She felt something heavy between her and David. She froze. She could not move. She felt cold skin. She closed her eyes and prayed. By morning, the feeling was gone. But every night, it returned. David became weaker. I feel drained, he said. I feel like something is feeding on me. Janet stopped sleeping. Fear lived in her heart. At night, the snake crawled into their bed. It slept between them. It sucked strength from David. It stole peace from Janet. Before dawn, it returned to Sarah's room. The elders say, when love grows cold, look deeper. Some nights, Janet heard sounds from the kitchen. Soft whispers. Low laughter. Strange words. She checked. Nothing was there. But unknown to them, Sarah was the leader of many evil cults. At night, spirits came. They sat in the kitchen. They planned evil. The woman must suffer, Sarah said. The child must weaken. The man must fall. They laughed softly. They vanished before morning. The elders say, when evil eats where you eat, danger is close. As the days passed, people around David and Janet began to notice changes. Janet no longer laughed easily. David no longer joked with neighbors. Agnes looked weak most days. One evening, a neighbor stopped Janet at the gate. Madam, the woman said gently, your house feels heavy. Janet forced a smile. Maybe it is stress, she replied. Another neighbor spoke one afternoon. That girl, she said quietly, she does not greet elders well. Janet felt uncomfortable. She is shy, Janet answered quickly. Inside her heart, doubt tried to rise. But she pushed it away. She is just a child, she told herself again and again. David also received warnings. An elderly man at work said, be careful who lives in your house. David laughed nervously. My wife is kind, he said. We help people. The elders say, wisdom knocked many times, but pride locked the door. That night, Sarah watched Janet closely. Her eyes were sharp. Her lips curved into a small smile. One terrible night, Agnes did not cry. She did not laugh. She did not move. Her body was hot like fire. Janet shook her gently. Agnes, she whispered. Wake up. No response. Janet screamed. David rushed in. Agnes' eyes were half closed. Her breathing was weak. Janet fell to her knees. My child, she cried. David called doctors. They rushed Agnes to the hospital. Doctors worked quickly. Hours passed. Finally, a doctor said, we have done all we can. Janet cried out to God. Please, she begged. Not my child. That night, Sarah sat alone in her room. She smiled. The elders say, when evil thinks it has won, it relaxes. That same night, Janet prayed like never before. She did not sleep. She did not stop praying. David prayed too. Suddenly, Agnes screamed loudly. The lights flickered. A loud hiss filled the house. The door to Sarah's room burst open. A huge black snake crawled out. David froze. Janet screamed. The snake raised its head. Light filled the room. The snake fell and screamed. Slowly, it changed. The snake became Sarah. She lay on the floor, shaking. The elders say, when light enters, darkness has no place. Sarah cried loudly. Her body shook. She begged. I was sent here, she said. I belong to many evil cults. I was told to destroy this family. She confessed everything. The babies. I stopped them. The child. I tormented her. The man. I drained his strength. Janet cried. David trembled. Sarah screamed as power left her. Prayers filled the house. She was taken away before morning. The elders say, truth walks free when lies fall. After Sarah was taken away, the house felt different. Quiet, calm, the air felt lighter than it had been in months. Janet stayed on her knees in the living room. She thanked God softly, tears rolling down her cheeks. Thank you, Lord, she whispered. Thank you for my child. Thank you for saving us. David knelt beside her. He held her hand tightly. I feel light again, he said. I think we are finally safe. Agnes lay in her crib, slowly opening her eyes. She smiled weakly at her mother. Janet picked her up and held her close. I will never let anything harm you again, she whispered. But even as they prayed, David and Janet knew that their lives had changed forever. They had learned that evil could hide in the most innocent faces. They had learned that vigilance was as important as love. Neighbors noticed the change too. The air around the house seemed lighter. Even the birds sang louder in the mornings. The elders say, praise the sword that cuts through the darkness. That night, David slept deeply for the first time in months. Janet slept beside him, feeling the warmth of safety. Agnes, too, slept without fear. For the first time, the family felt whole again. Days passed, and Agnes grew stronger. Her laughter returned, soft at first, then loud and full of joy. Janet cooked again with happiness in her heart. David smiled genuinely at her. The house regained its life. Flowers bloomed. The wind carried the scent of peace. Even the walls seemed to breathe again. Janet felt hope returning. She could finally dream about another child. She prayed each night for strength. She prayed for protection. She prayed for her family's safety. David returned to work, but he was not weak anymore. His steps were firm, his voice strong. He thanked God for the second chance. Agnes would play in the yard. She would chase butterflies. She would hide behind the sofa and laugh at her parents' silly faces. Janet often whispered, God is faithful. He saved us from the darkness. The elders say, when darkness flees, even the smallest light shines bright. Months later, Janet became pregnant again. This time, she carried the pregnancy to full term. She and David were overjoyed. They decorated a small room for the new baby. Agnes helped her mother choose the softest blankets. The day the baby was born, the house was filled with songs and laughter. Neighbors came to celebrate, friends brought gifts. The family had survived the shadow, and now joy returned like sunlight after a storm. Janet held the newborn gently. David kissed both his daughters' heads. Agnes giggled and clapped her hands. I will protect you, Janet whispered to her children. And nothing will harm our family again. Even the elders who had warned them felt relief. They nodded knowingly and said, the family who survives darkness is stronger than before. Peace finally settled in the home. And so, the family learned the most important lessons. Not every smile is safe. Not every helper is sent by God. Evil can hide behind soft eyes and gentle words. Prayer can see what the human eye cannot see. Faith, vigilance, and love are the strongest shields against darkness. David and Janet never forgot the months of pain they endured. They never forgot the fear that haunted their nights. But they also never forgot the power of God's protection. Agnes grew up knowing how blessed she was. She learned from her mother and father the importance of prayer, kindness, and courage. The elders say, "Guard your home, for not all who enter bring peace." But when God's light shines, darkness runs. And the family always remembered love, faith, and prayer can defeat even the most hidden evil. What would you have done if you were Janet? Should families always pray before bringing helpers into their homes? Do you believe evil can hide in kindness? Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more African folktales that reveal hidden truths.